Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Thrive Talks. Tonight, we welcome our distinguished international professional football player, Myles McHaney IV. He's our guest tonight. He has an athletic background that includes standout performances in high school and college football. Not only has he participated in the prestigious NFL HBCU Combine, but he has also showcased his talents in the HBCU Legacy Bowl. Currently, he's a professional football player in Brazil. And tonight, he is joining us to open up and talk about the often overlooked topic of mental health in sports. Particularly, we're going to be focusing on the struggles athletes face with depression. Myles is going to share his journey, but also emphasize the critical need for us to continue to have open conversations about mental health in athletics. Myles, welcome to the show tonight. I really appreciate you joining us tonight. I'm going to give you an opportunity to say a few words, introduce yourself, although I've done that, but whatever you would like to say to our audience tonight, and then we'll get started.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for allowing me on your platform. Blessings, peace, and prosperity. I'm an international professional athlete. I'm in Brazil. This is my first time being in another country for about 120 days. I'm out here on my own. I sacrificed everything, time away from my family, my friends, my loved ones, everything that I'm familiar with. So, God gave me an opportunity to continue playing football, but it's in Brazil. So, I took it, and I'm here now, living it up, man. I'm halfway through. We got 3 games left in the season, and we're looking to finish strong and win the BFA championship.
Okay, well, you got have a lot going on. All right. So, as we talk about athletes and depression, can you share with the audience your personal journey with mental health and how it has impacted your career as a professional athlete?
Yeah, I feel like mental health is really an overlooked topic. I've been in 3 schools. I started at Youngstown State University, Upper Iowa University, and then I finished at Prairie View A&M University. Being at Youngstown, first time at college by myself on my own. I'm 17, and that's kind of when I started noticing like the pressures around me. My peers, my family, the coaches. You're expected to go to 5 classes and turn your work in, be on time, be the meetings, be the workouts, and it's a lot to handle. Being 17, being away from the crib for the first time, being away from the family, and you're responsible for yourself. You have to be accountable for yourself, and if you don't come from a strong foundation, you could easily slip off into, not turning your work on time, being late, so you have to really hold yourself accountable. And if you are not having a strong support system, you can easily get depressed. Am I good enough? Do I know what I'm doing? You might doubt yourself. So a lot of athletes, you know, take criticism from those outside of them, but they don't really know what's going on inside the walls of the building. So they're hearing a lot of voices, and if you're not really, stapled into the ground, rooted into the ground, a lot of these things can blow you off track. So I would say it's very important to have a positive support team around you. When you have questions, when you're doubting yourself, when you don't know where to look to next, when you're questioning the process, you need to have people around you that are going to support you and tell you the truth. They're going to uplift you, and yeah, that's where I would start. It's very important.
Okay. And so, as you talked about just the pressures of being an athlete, not only in high school and college, but as a professional player, what are some of the misconceptions about mental health in the world of professional sports?
I feel like there's many misconceptions, man. Like just being a man, men don't like to talk about their feelings and what they're going through. It's perceived to be weak. But talking about what you're going through and being vulnerable is actually strong. You're showing strength because you're looking to get better. You want to improve. So you ask questions to get better. You ask your wise councilmen. You ask the people that are better than you, what do I need to do to get better? How do I improve? What do I need to do next? Ask the people that have been in your shoes already, because these are the people that ultimately, know what you want to do. They've been to where you want to go. Um, So if you don't have that in your life, it can be very hard to depend on yourself, to kind of be alone. You need to ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. There's no wrong, and there's no wrong question. You know what I'm saying? Because you learn from asking questions. You learn from reading books, you learn from the music, you learn from online. So you're always looking to seek knowledge. Asking questions is the same thing. So um yeah, being vulnerable is show strength. So don't be afraid to ask for help, I would say.
Right. Yeah. And I can imagine just some of the things that I hear from men as it relates to the stigma about seeking mental health services. So I'm pretty sure among athletes, especially with professional athletes, that's probably challenging to get to that place to be vulnerable and to open up and then to seek out mental health services. So, Miles, how did you first realize that you were dealing with depression, and what steps did you take to start managing it?
Yeah, so it started at Youngstown about 2018. I just my mood was kind of up and down. It wasn't stable. It wasn't balanced. So, I was starting to, be feel like unmotivated. Sometimes I didn't want to eat. And sometimes I didn't really want to work out, or I would sit in the locker room. Sometimes my guys are around me, joking around, having a good time, just vibing out. And I just felt kind of like an outsider a little bit. So I'm like, man, what's going on? And considering all of the outside factors, being away, being in class on time, 5 classes to balance, turning working for every class, the expectations from the coaches. I'm a freshman, competed with seniors that have been in the system 4 or 5 years. And me, I'm hard on myself. I want to improve. So I'm putting pressure on myself, kind of maybe unwanted pressure that I didn't necessarily need, but it pushed me to be the better version of myself. So I started getting down on myself when I wasn't a starter at Youngstown as a freshman. And I ended up starting to see a counselor. I think I was going like twice a week. I ended up getting on antidepressant. I was on Zoloft at one point, and I was in Klonopin. I had problems sleeping. They even gave me Trizodone. Man, they're all these sleep medicine, and then even Adderall at one point, because then I was too down. I was too tired, so they tried to lift me back up. So over time, I built a relationship with God, and I ended up getting rid of all the medicine. Cold turkey, I threw them out the window. On one day on my way home, I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I stopped taking all the medicine, and yeah, I really just focused on and paid attention to my moods, because your thoughts are not who you are. It's just a passing thought. You don't have to act on that emotion. And one thing I learned in therapy is, like, when you feel like you're about to do a negative coping mechanism, you're about to rely on a substance, or you're about to go do something that could harm your body, you know if, and that trigger, once you realize that trigger, you have to step back and, okay, this is how I'm feeling. Now I'm going to do my positive coping mechanism instead of the negative. So for me, one of my positive coping mechanisms, I like to ride the bike. I'll go ride the bike around the pond out here in Brazil. So
Mm.
it's about an 18-mile ride. I ride the bike. If I'm, something going on, I'll just go ride the bike, or I'll go work out. I'll go lift weights. Um, so yeah, I started finding positive coping mechanisms to do instead of the negative. And over time, I started to find myself crawling out of the depression, crawling out of the dark place. And it took some time. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't in 2 weeks. It wasn't even in a month. It took some time. And, it took time talking to the coaches, talking to my parents, talking to my, the people who really love me and have my best interests. Those are the people that I really relied on during this time.
Yeah. So, as an athlete, and when you started seeking therapy, you were prescribed medications. Did Were your teammates aware that you were in therapy? And if so, you
Um,
know, what were those interactions like? Did they ever ask you about it, or?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the guys knew, like my trusted teammates knew I was in therapy. And, I was speaking to, a professional to help me with, just my mindset and my mood, and, different things that kind of rub me the wrong way and my triggers. Some of them, they were intrigued, because everybody's going through their own battle, whether you speak about it or not. Everybody's going through something. So some of my teammates were actually curious, and they kind of wanted to lean towards getting help as well. Even somebody that they can speak to, and it's confidential. You don't, every whatever y'all talk about doesn't have everybody doesn't need to know about. So Yeah, some of my guys they want to. They're asking me questions. How can I get into it? What do I need to do? Who would I need to talk to? And I think that was a really positive thing because guys wanted to get better. Um,
Right.
through seeing me at counseling
Good.
because I made it known, I'm like, bro, I'm getting help. I'm trying to be better for myself. You guys are using some substances. I don't want to be around you all the time because I'm trying to get better. So I have to separate myself right now. I can't hang out right now. I need to focus on Miles. So I had to pull back and say no to some people, say no to being some places, and put that time and energy back into myself so I can get my mental right.
Right. Right. So, with all the pressures that comes with being an athlete, and for those parents that may be watching, or those high school athletes, college athletes that may be watching, and they're just dealing with those internal struggles as it relates to all the pressures of being an athlete. What would you say to a high school athlete that may be having some internal struggles, maybe dealing with performance anxiety?
I would say don't give up, first of all. Over time, the performance anxiety will improve. If you speak to yourself, envision yourself making the play, vision yourself throwing the ball, catching the ball, whatever position you play, linebacker, envision yourself making that tackle before you go on the field, go to sleep at night thinking about what you're going to do in the game. Um, and just go over it. Repetition. For me, that's something that I do. I think about, okay, what am I going to do in the game? What do I need to do? What's my job? What's my responsibility? I kind of go over that in my head. And then when the game comes around, I've already went over it. There's no need to stress or worry because you've already told yourself what you're going to do. You already put the work in. You already watched the film. So the performance anxiety, as long as you prepare properly, that performance anxiety should start to go away a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It should start to pull away.
Yeah. What role do coaches and teammates play in supporting athletes that may be going through some type of mental health challenge, whether that's anxiety, depression? What role would you say that coaches and teammates play with uh, in helping in those areas?
I would say the coaches play a critical role. The players look up to the coaches is kind of for basically for acceptance. First string, second string. You get to the major leagues, it's about money now. Who's going to get paid the most? So they look up to these coaches for acceptance. What am I doing wrong, coach? So their relationship is very important. How the coaches speak to the players, how the coaches speak to the coaches. You know, is it friendly? You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like you can tell them the truth? Is it open? Can you have an open conversation in a judgment-free zone? You know, um, create a safe environment for players to speak about their concerns, because a lot of these guys have issues that they're going through off the field that could affect their performance on the field. And if the person that's, they're looking for acceptance and they don't have a clear relationship with them, that can hinder their athletic performance. So I would say the relationship with the players and the coaches is critical. Um, as well as the players, your peers, you how you interact with those around you, you want to feel accepted. Everybody wants to feel like they belong. So I feel like having positive guys around you and everybody wants to work to the same goal, that's crucial, man. You got to have people around you that are willing to lift you up. When you're having a bad day or you're feeling down, you got to have somebody that's going to throw their arm around you, bro. I'm here for you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm right here. Like, if you got something going on, you can talk to me. You got to have people around you that are willing to pick you up and they can see through your eyes. He's not having a good day. Let me help him. Let me see if I can help him. So you just have to be self-aware. I feel like my teammates need to have a great self-awareness to see what their brother's going through. As a team, you guys are together every single day. Lunch, breakfast, dinner, meetings, workouts. This is your new family. So you got to have people around you that will put their arms around you and lift you up on days that you can't pick yourself up.
Yeah. I would tell you, Miles, sometimes when I'm watching my favorite teams, whether it's college or professional, and sometimes when a player on my team make a mistake, I'm saying things right as a professional athlete, and you're in a game. Let's say you made a mistake, right? as a professional athlete, how do you deal with the public scrutiny? Uh, Sometimes the the fans can be really tough on players. So
Yep.
how do you deal with the public scrutiny, and how may that affect an athlete's mental health?
I feel like it can affect an athlete's mental health tremendously, but I feel like one of the defenses against that, if you know who you are, the outside noise, you can't really pay attention to it too much. Sometimes you got to have that tunnel vision and focus on the goal and focus on what's going on. You kind of got to block some things out a little bit. If you start listening too much to what's going on around you, you can get down, because like you said, the public scrutiny, people can be, harsh, they can, what I'm saying, they can say some things to bring you down. So, um, some things you got to block out. You can't listen to what everybody has to say. You got to stay focused on what you're doing. That's I would say that's the main thing. Just focus on what's going on inside the house. You can't worry about outside the house.
Okay. Okay. Now, this next question, it's and you don't have to answer it if you don't want, but it's gonna maybe cause you to be a little vulnerable. Uh, but can you discuss any specific moments in your career that particularly really challenged your mental health?
I would say probably really at Youngstown challenged my mental health. It challenged my strengths. Um, Guys were everybody was fighting for a spot, and this is my first time being in a hostile environment. Guys are competing, guys are, fighting for their spots, they're putting the work in, and this is my first time seeing and being around guys that are better than me. So I was very hard on myself when I wasn't, on the travel team, when I wasn't playing in the game. I started, doubting myself. And I spent a lot of time alone in my room, man, just being by myself, wasn't hanging out with the guys, wasn't really enjoying being away from home when this is supposed to be, a lovely time. I'm on scholarship, I'm at the college, people would die to be in this position. I'm very thankful that I was able to be in this spot. But, some of the things I wasn't understanding at my age, I was 17, 18, competing against guys that are 23, 24, 22. And I couldn't understand it at the time because I was young. So, I started losing some motivation at some time, but, I had great older guys that told me, you bro, this is you have to go through the process. You're not going to be the freshman that just comes in the building and you just take over like that instantly. So you kind of got to work your way up. You got to go up the ladder. So I didn't really understand that at the time, so I was just being very hard on myself when it was just normal. That's the process. I had to go through the process. So um yeah, I had a lot of dark days, but I had people around me that continued to remind me of my goal and what I was working towards. And every single day, I had to call my mom, my dad, talk to my coaches, to the people that were telling me the truth. And, I rely a lot on the people around me. I call my friends, my family before I make a decision. I talk to my wise councilman. I talk to my coaches in the USA right now. I call them before should I do this? What do you think about this? I get their advice before I make a decision. I don't just make decisions on my own, so. I would rely on the people around you. If you're going through something, I would recommend relying on the people around you. Ask questions.
Okay. All right, great. For those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking about athletes and depression. We have with us international professional football player Myles McHaney IV, uh, sharing some valuable information with us about his personal journey. For those of you that are tuning in, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comment section, and we'll be, or any questions or comments, we'll be glad to address those before we end the show on tonight. Uh, Miles, I would tell you, I have worked with college athletes uh, in therapy, and sometimes just the mental toll, just the pressures of being a college athlete takes on them. Sometimes can be really tough
Yeah.
with that. So, but what resources and support systems have you found to be the most helpful when you were dealing with your depression?
My best resource that Youngstown stood up for me, I was going to therapy. I was going to counseling every week. I was going through substance, counseling, having to really figure out my triggers. What caused me to go want to do this? What caused me want to go do that? And once I really got the help that I needed and worked with the professionals on the mental health and the approach, and my triggers and coping mechanisms and different things like that, I started to really see a difference in how I felt overall on a daily basis. It took some time. It's kind of like practice. You got to practice makes perfect. And when something is sent to make you mad or something makes you upset, this is a perfect opportunity to practice your coping mechanisms. And you have to put that trigger on your mind. Okay, this is something that's making me upset. Now it's time to exercise and do my positive coping mechanism. My positive coping mechanism is working out or talking to somebody that knows has my best interest or going to ride the bike. Um, so I feel like you just have to find out what really works for you, um, and practice that. Every time something occurs in your life, do your positive coping mechanism.
Okay. All right. Good information there. So how do you balance the demands of your career as a professional athlete with that need to maintain your mental well-being?
Yeah. So for me, everybody's different. For me, when I need to recharge and regroup, I like to take time and be by myself. I like to sit in my room. I like to sit outside. I like to sit and eat by myself just so I can reflect on the day. I can reflect on the week. I can reflect on the conversations that I've had with people, my coaches, the people that I value, what did I do at practice today? What did I do in the game? I like to sit and think about everything that I've done that adds up to be in the position I'm in now. Um, so I like to put things in different compartments. If it's practice time, it's practice time. If it's time to lift weights, it's time to lift weights. If it's time to watch film, we'll watch a film. So I kind of got to put things to the side and focus on what you're doing right now. And then at the end of the night, when you're done with meetings, practice, and and you have that time to yourself, that's the time that I take to reflect and go through everything that happened today.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of switch it up just a little bit. Just tell us about your experience of the I guess the good times about playing college football at an HBCU and participating in the HBCU combine and the Legacy Bowl.
Yeah,
What
I
was
mean,
that
I
like
love.
for you?
It was amazing. It was a blessing to be invited to the HBCU Legacy Bowl in the combine. It was an honor to be invited in that space around, NFL greats, NFL legends, and to be considered, on their list of NFL prospects is a blessing, man. Because truthfully, I didn't even expect to be invited. Just to consider how my season went. I wasn't a starter all the time. I didn't lead in tackles or anything like that. But one of the things that stood out about me every single time I got in the game, I made an impact. I did what I needed to do, or I made a play, or I helped somebody else make a play. So I believe that's what helped me get the recognition to be in that position. Um, my time at HBCU and Prairie View, I loved it. I love PV. I'm PV Nation forever, man. This is my new family in Houston. I talked to Coach Bubba McDowell. I talked to Coach Watson. I talked to Coach Jackson. Coach Rock. I talk to these coaches still, and I'm in Brazil. I update them. Let them know how I'm doing. I'm representing PV, and I love my time at the HBCU. That's the best school I've been at. I've been in three schools, two PWIs, and one HBCU. Go to the HBC. If you want to be in the culture, you want to be with your family, your brothers, your sisters, that's where you need to be because you're gonna feel like that's family there. You're gonna look across and you're gonna see somebody that's looking like you. So that's a place that I love to be, man. That's another place I consider home, man. I talk to those guys all the time. I'm in a group chat with them still. I know what's going on in the game. I know what's going on at the school. I talk to my teammates that, after practice and what's going on, bro. How's your day going? And kind of just check up on them. And I comment on the Instagram post, good work, keep it up. So I keep in touch with those guys, man. That's my family.
Okay, all right. Uh, so for those high school athletes that may be watching, or their parents or any coaches may be watching, what would you what would you say to encourage, or what would you say to high school athletes just about their aspirations to play at the collegiate level, or even dreams of going to the NFL or playing professionally? What would you say to those high school athletes?
I would say if you're in high school, you can do it. It's possible. The sky is the limit. The opportunities are out there and available for you. If this is what you really want to do, you can do it. Put the work in, trust the coaches, trust your parents, and be thankful for the people around you that are willing to help you. Because these are the people that want to see you be great. So trust the process. Every day is not going to be easy. Where you start is going to be different than where you finish. So the in between time, just remind yourself, this is what I want to do. I want to be professional. You know, the 18-year-old kid versus the 24-year-old, obviously there's an age difference. The 24-year-old has, five, six, whatever more years in the weight room. The development's different. They've been working on their body longer. So when you're comparing yourself to an athlete that's older than you, don't be too hard on yourself. This guy has been through the process. He's been in your shoes longer than you have. So everybody has to learn. You have to learn the game. You have to learn the system. So be patient with yourself. Definitely be patient with yourself through the process and just keep working.
Yeah, yeah. And also with me working with high school athletes, even at a, in high school, man, I've had clients to talk about uh, not getting playing time, or if they make a mistake, the coach will immediately take them out, don't really give them a chance to kind of like recover. But that actually contributes a lot to their sadness, low motivation, lack of motivation, low mood, and could potentially lead to depression. So for those high school athletes that may be struggling with that, what would you say to them?
I would say, have that conversation with your coach and ask what you're doing wrong. How can I improve? And, make it known to your coach that you want to be better, because at the end of the day, the coaches and the team and the organization is trying to win. So if you're making a mistake, I would say find out what you're doing wrong, ask them how you can improve, and then the next day come back and be better. You got to come back every day trying to get better. Don't give up. 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, and just keep pushing, keep going, because one day
Yeah.
you're gonna get it all. You're gonna know what to do, and if they're yelling at you, if they're being hard on you, don't take it personal, because you just got to remember we're just trying to win. Emotions are high. This is a high stress situation. It's a high stress game. There's a lot of things on the table. So if somebody's speaking to you loudly or yelling at you or telling you to do this, you can't take it personal, because you just got to remember this is just a game. This is how it goes. It's high stress game. This is how it goes, man. And you have to accept some things, because just because the message is hard or how they're delivering it is hard or harsh, or you may not like how it sounds, it's the best for you. So don't be so critical on how it sounds. I would say, especially being a young kid, I know you kind of got to pull back a little bit and not speak so aggressively, and be aware as a coach who you're speaking to. You have to know your players, because some of your players you can talk to them crazy, you can speak aggressively, but everybody else you can't approach them the same way. So I think as a coach, you have to know who your players are on the field, because again, they're more than just players. These guys have mental health. These are real people underneath the helmet, underneath the shoulder pads in their jersey. These people have feelings, they have families. So I think you have to take that into consideration as well. If the great coaches, I believe, really do that.
Okay. So before we went live, we talked about your education, your degrees in criminal justice, correct?
Yes, sir.
Uh, what are your future goals with you using your degrees in criminal justice?
Yeah, so after my NFL career, my professional career, I plan on opening some juvenile athletic mentorship facility that I can be running and train the juveniles or kids that come from low income housing, come from foster care, or come from some sort of group, or come from single parent households, and give them a place to feel welcomed. If you want to just play the game, come play the game. If we'll have food available, we'll have training available for lifting weights, showing them how to work out, showing them how to sprint. But at the same time, we're going to have the educational piece, people in there to help them get tutors, get their work in on time, because you have to have both components, the education, and you have to be, do well on the field. So I just want to create a safe environment that kids can come to after school and get haircuts, have clothes if it's in a cold climate, winter jackets. I'm from Michigan, it snows there. So a lot of kids don't have basic necessities. So we'll have gently used clothes that they can come and grab, food available. So at the same time, you can get your work, you can get your schoolwork done, and you can train as an athlete. And after that, if you want to sit in a gym and play Madden or play NBA 2K, you can do that until your parents get home from work and they can pick you up and then you can go home. Instead of wandering around outside on the street and getting into things you shouldn't do, I'm gonna invite them into my space and let's work on your career. Let's do the personal development. Let's get better. So I want to create an environment that they can work on themselves ultimately.
Good. That man, I really like to hear that. It's needed. It's needed in a lot of communities. So I just want to commend you for having that passion and having a heart for providing services like that. Hey, and if you ever need a good therapist, I know of one. Okay, to help out with that. Okay, all right. So how can so I know that a lot of universities now are actually hiring mental health therapists in the athletic departments. They're putting mental health therapists, psychologists in the athletic departments. A lot of NFL teams are hiring mental health therapists.
Yes.
How can sports organizations better support athletes that are struggling with mental health issues?
I would say they can support athletes that are having mental health issues by creating a comfortable environment. A lot of the times athletes don't want to communicate what they're going through because of the outcome, or what's the result if I speak about the substance I'm abusing. What's the result if I tell them about the domestic stuff that's going on at home. What's the result if I tell the truth about what's going on, because you have to be careful what you say, because what you say can put you in a tough position. So I feel like the schools, the private organizations need to make it a safe place for people to speak, because some people don't trust the staff. They don't trust the athletic trainer. They don't trust the coach that's gonna go run to the dean and get rid of their scholarship and let them go because they talked about the substance they're abusing. They don't want to put themselves in this position, in this light, because they know it can land them in a dark place. It can get them kicked off the team, especially at those, certain schools that require you to, come in on time, drug tests and do different things like that, so guys would rather suffer than ask for help. So I would say that they definitely need to create a place that they feel that they can ask for help, make it safe, make them free, make them feel like they can be themselves.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I hear a lot of young people, high school athletes, that have those aspirations of going on to play at the collegiate level, aspirations of going to the NFL or NBA, and so they look up to their to pro athletes. And so sometimes they'll have this perception that, man, if I just make it, everything's gonna be good. I'm good. I'm set if I can just make it. But I'm sure for those that are tuning in and listening to you as a professional athlete, sometimes the public don't are not even aware of the mental health challenges that may come along with that.
This is
What would
true.
you say to that?
I would say that the public and the outsiders, they're not the ones who are at the gym with you. They're not the ones putting in the work with you. They're not the ones getting up at 5 a.m. to go to meetings and then weights and then practice and then meetings again and then, a walkthrough and then go to sleep. They're not there with you doing these things. So, um, they don't really truly know the time and the effort and the blood, sweat, and tears and energy that you have to put into being a professional athlete and the years that you've dedicated of your life just to be able to run fast, just to be able to jump high, just to be strong. You've had to dedicate your whole life to this. And, you know, the outside noise, the scrutiny, the words they can weigh down, they can weigh players down. So, I think, it's best just to remain focused on the goal, block out the noise, and, kind of just listen to the people who love you the most and who have your best interests. Because if you start listening to what's going on around you, you might get sidetracked and you might lose focus of the goal.
Yeah. What was the so earlier when you doing your introduction you talked about leaving home you talked about leaving home going to Brazil to play professionally, but what was the transition like for you going from high school to college and then from college to a professional athlete?
Yes, the transition from high school to college. First, I would say it was uncomfortable at times. I was by myself. I'm in another state. I'm 4 hours away from my family. I'm expected to be on time. I'm expected to turn my work in on time. I'm expected to perform, and this is my first time in a high stress environment with high expectations. So, me being there, I wanted to be the best I could be. So if I ended up coming up short of my goal, I was hard on myself. And every time you set a goal for yourself, you're not always going to reach it. You're not always going to hit the max in the weight room. You're not always going to run the fastest 40-yard dash. You're not always going to make the tackle. So I had to accept the ups and downs and find balance in between what's going on around me. And that took some time as a 17-year-old kid to realize this. So throughout my, 5 year college experience, I got the opportunity to play professional in Brazil. And I feel like my experiences through college, the growth I've made, the improvements that I've made over that time has set me up and has given me enough strength and a strong enough foundation to be by myself in Brazil. And to be in South America, to take a 16-hour flight to another country where people don't even speak my language. They speak Portuguese, so I'm around people that, I can't even really speak to that well. I'm using the Google Translator. I'm trying to learn the Portuguese, but it's a very tough language to learn. So now I'm put in another situation where I'm forced to grow. I'm forced to be uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, that's when you grow. You have to look at yourself. You
Mhm.
have to walk up the street and get your own coconut water. You got to go to the store and pick up your own watermelons and pineapples if that's what you want to eat. You have to get out there and do it yourself, or else you're gonna sit there with nothing. So
Mhm.
you have to force yourself to go get what you want, man, because if you don't take the risk, if I was like, oh, I'm just gonna stay home, and I'm scared to go to Brazil. I would have never had this experience. I would have never been a professional athlete. But since I took the chance to be by myself and chase my dreams and my goals, even though God said you're gonna play pro in Brazil, you want it or not. So I wanted it. So I left everything, and now I'm thankful to be playing pro in Brazil, because like I said earlier, I wasn't even expecting to be invited here. I never thought about playing professional in Brazil. It never crossed my mind. So when I heard that I had the chance to go here, I kind of didn't know how to feel about it. I did a lot of praying. I'm talking to my family, my friends, like, man, what should I do? What should I do? And I had to ask myself, is this really what you want? Because I'm the one that's here. I'm here by myself. Not my mom, not my dad, not my sister, not my brother. Not my cousins, not my friends. I'm here. I got to go to bed, go to sleep by myself. I got the one that's got to wake up. So I had to really ask myself, Miles, is this what you want? Is this what you want to do? And now I'm in Brazil. We're undefeated right now. We're 4-0. We're on track to win the Brazilian Football Association championship. So I'm looking to finish strong. Finish the season, and then I'll be able to add, an international professional championship to my resume at the end of the day. So that's the ultimate goal.
Okay. All right. So, for those of you tuning in, we have with us Myles McHaney IV, professional Football player, if you have any questions, you can put those in the comment section there, and we will address those. Listen, Miles, I'm grateful and for the connection that we made. And I feel honored to have you on the show tonight. Thank you for agreeing to do this, taking the time out of your very busy schedule just to sit down and have a conversation with me about athletes and depression. And I will also tell you that, as a professional athlete, it may be difficult for some people to be as vulnerable as you are and talk about their struggles with depression and what they went through. So I just want to commend you and appreciate you for being willing to do that. I think it's very helpful, it's needed, and there's a lot of young people that have aspirations to play at the college level, aspirations to play professionally, and so you talking about your journey and your struggles, I think it's helpful and it's needed. Again, sometimes young people are just not aware of everything that comes along with playing at the collegiate level and then playing professionally. So I just want to thank you for joining us on tonight. Okay. And with that being said, I'm going to let you have the final words as we close out tonight.
Yes, sir. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to speak and share my voice. And it's been an honor to talk with you, a professional, a doctor, and welcoming me on your platform, man. Because this is a new journey for me. I'm in Brazil, and you've recognized that many athletes are struggling with mental health, and there's underlying issues that people don't talk about. So I want to thank you for allowing me to share my personal experiences with you, with everybody that's listening. And it's just been an honor, man. I really thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Yes, sir. And before we end, hopefully you can come back sometime and share with us. Maybe we can talk about your future plans of what you talked about, opening homes and things like that. So looking forward to keeping in touch with you and maybe bringing you back to the show sometime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. So a very good friend of mine who's also a therapist, Mr. Waller, says great insight. He appreciates the insight that you provide on this topic tonight. Yeah. Right. And we have some other comments that are commending you. Great talk, young man. Excellent. And so, um, again, it's helpful and it's needed. I'm praying for you. I wish you all the success in your professional career.
Thank
Uh,
you.
hey, the sky's the limit. The sky is the limit, man. And as I say, and I always end my shows with these words, and I'm gonna leave these words with you. Whatever you do, man, keep thriving. You were created to thrive, so keep thriving.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We are at the end of our show. Want to say good night to everyone. And whatever you do, audience, keep thriving. We were created to thrive. Uh, my belief is that whatever happens to us in life, we are resilient people. We're able to bounce back and we're able to thrive. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.